My husband planned for his mother to retire into our home for years, then called my parents' daily help unfair. My husband and I have been married for almost 2 years, and our son is 10 months old. We live in Canada. I grew up here while my husband immigrated here as a student. My parents live close by, and their support has been invaluable throughout my pregnancy, and during these first difficult months with our baby. My mom comes over regularly to help us out. She and my husband get along well, so it has always felt natural and peaceful. His parents, on the other hand, live in another country. We have only visited them once since getting married, 7 months ago. Before that, the last time we saw them was at our wedding, which was held in their country. For a while my husband had been talking about his mother coming to visit us for an extended stay, and I was genuinely happy about it. We recently moved into a new house, and I have put a lot of effort into making it feel like home. We have a large guest room, and I was actually looking forward to hosting her. More than anything, I knew it would make my husband happy to have his mother here. A few days ago, he was complaining about how detailed her visa application was. I said I was surprised that the process required so much information. That was when he explained that the regular visa only allowed someone to stay for a maximum of 6 months, but this particular application could allow her to remain here for up to 2 years. I asked him why his mother would need a visa that allowed her to stay longer than 6 months. He told me she had been considering closing down her medical practice and essentially retiring. If she did that, then she could stay with us for a longer visit if everyone decided it was working out. I was completely stunned. Until that moment I had assumed she would be here for about a month. That was how long my husband and I stayed with his parents when we visited them. I told him he should just use the standard application because there was no way his mother would be staying anywhere close to 6 months. He became upset and said that she was his mother. She had been telling him how lonely she felt, and she could not stay with his brother because my brother-in-law lived with roommates. He said it was unfair to put some kind of countdown on her time with us. He also said she had been looking forward to helping us care for our son. I told him that we did not need additional help. We manage well as a family, especially with my mom stopping by when she can. I wanted to welcome his mother as a guest in our home, not have her become part of our household indefinitely. Then he said it was unfair that my parents could visit whenever they wanted while his parents could not. That hurt me deeply, because my parents have done so much for us. I asked him whether he wanted me to limit how often my mom came over. He said that was not what he meant and made it clear that he liked my mom. He just felt that the situation was unfair to his parents, but I pointed out that when my mom visits, she goes home at the end of the day. She is not living with us. That would not be the case with his mother, especially if she was applying for a visa that could potentially let her stay for years. I ended the conversation by telling him to look into the easier regular visa application because his mother could not seriously be planning to stay that long. He slept on the couch that night. Since then he has been cold and distant with me. I hate it. We have never treated each other this way before, and the silence between us feels worse than the argument itself. I talked to my mom about it because I was feeling overwhelmed. She said that having his mother live with us for long stretches would absolutely affect me, my privacy and my role in my own home. She told me this was something worth standing firm on. I have not seen him work on the application since then. Last night, he stepped outside when his mother called. When he came back in, I asked him how she had taken the news. He said he had only told her that he was still looking into which application would suit her best. Then he asked whether I had changed my mind. I told him no. He just shook his head, turned on the television, and sat there in silence. Update 1. Yesterday when my husband came home from work, I tried to start the conversation again. Ever since all of this began he had been giving me the cold shoulder, and I couldn't keep living like that. I told him that I'm his wife of 2 years and the mother of his child, and this is not how we can communicate with each other. That finally got us talking. I held my ground and told him that his mother staying with us for such a long time simply isn't tenable. I explained that if she wanted to stay in Canada for more than a couple of months, she would need her own apartment. She would have to learn to drive or become comfortable using public transportation, because she is used to having a hired driver in Pakistan. There would be a lot of changes she would need to adjust to, and I was honest that I don't see myself changing my mind about that. I told him he needed to be truthful with both his mother and himself instead of going down the "we'll keep our options open" path. He said he understood that having her live with us for an extended time would require changes from us. But then he said he was asking me to do this as a favor to him, that I say I love him, yet I can't do this one favor for his mother. I actually started sobbing when he said that. It hurt so much that he was turning this into some kind of test for whether I love him. I told him that having his mother around for years would ruin this stage of parenthood for us. Especially with our first child. I want us to raise our son the way we believe is right, not the way his mother wants, and beyond that, our private life would suffer. Our intimate moments, our sex life, everything would change with another person permanently in our home. My parents are Pakistani too. I know exactly how these dynamics can become over time. He asked me again not to shut the door completely. He said he would tell his mother that her visit could only be for a month or so, and that afterward I could tell him if the adjustment had not been too difficult. Eventually, we reached a compromise. For now they will apply for the regular visa, which only allows a maximum stay of 6 months. If I ever change my mind later, then he can apply for the super visa after that. He had a long phone call with his mother and his older sister joined the call too. It lasted an hour and a half. He was sitting in the backyard at first, but he had to come inside to grab a chair because it was going on for so long. From what I could see, he was mostly listening during the conversation. When he finally came back inside, he told me not to answer any calls or messages from his mother or sister. By then, I had already received around 4 missed calls and 20 messages from them. Most of the messages were Islamic quotes about the rights of parents. I told them I couldn't talk because I was busy with my son. When I asked my husband how the call went, he said it went about as well as he expected. But at least he is no longer giving me the cold shoulder. Still, I feel guilty. I really had been looking forward to hosting my mother-in-law for a month. Now I'm scared that this has caused damage that may not be repairable, not only between me and my mother-in-law and sister-in-law but also between my husband and his mother and sister. I told my mother-in-law that I would call her back in a couple of hours, once my husband is home. I'm dreading that conversation, but I know where my boundaries are. One thing I need to make clear is that this is not a situation where my husband and I come from completely different cultures. We are both of Pakistani descent. The difference is that I was born here, while he came to Canada as a student. Still, he has been here for about a decade now too. Update 2. I spoke to my mother-in-law. Since her missed calls and text messages were asking me to call her, I felt like I should be the one to return the call instead of making my husband do it. Still, I put the phone on speaker so my husband, who is lying on the couch nearby, could hear everything. She told me that my husband had said he thought it would be best if she limited her trip to 1 month since it would be her first time in Canada and because we were already very busy with our son. She said that ever since my husband had moved to Canada at 18, he had always wanted her to come visit for a long time. Now, suddenly he was asking her to shorten her stay when all she wanted was to help with her grandson. Then she said she knew I had to be the reason for it. I told her it had been a joint decision based on our circumstances, but she would not listen. She said that if having her stay for more than a month was so outrageous to us, then fine, she would limit her visit. But I should remember that in Pakistan, in-laws often live in the same house as a married couple, just like my sister-in-law does. She said she had believed I was connected to my Islamic and Pakistani roots when I married her son, because that was what my husband had told her. But now she was disappointed by how wet-washed I apparently was. At that point my husband asked me to hand him the phone. Before I did though, I told her I was completely comfortable with how connected I was to my own heritage, and apparently so was her son. Then I told her he had come over and handed him the phone. My husband took the call outside into the yard, but I was furious and decided to listen in. He was speaking to both my mother-in-law and father-in-law. He told them that he had not fled to Canada in the middle of the night as a student. They had happily taken him to the airport and seen him off themselves. He also reminded them that when he introduced me, he had never hidden that I was born and raised in Canada. He told them they could not expect to treat us as though we were a couple living in Pakistan. Then he mostly listened for nearly half an hour. I brought him a chair because I could tell it was going to be a long conversation. Every so often he calmly repeated, "It's different now." By the end of the call, he told them that we were both genuinely looking forward to her visit and that we would make sure she had a wonderful 30 days with us and her grandson. Afterward, he apologized to me on his mother's behalf. He asked me to let her lecture go and to still agree to the 1-month plan. I am looking forward to the visit much less than I was before, but I said fine. I feel like with my mother's advice I have managed to resolve this for now. I know myself well enough to know that my mother-in-law staying with us for years was never something I could handle. Knowing that I was not wrong to feel that way helped me stand my ground. What happens if she stays longer than a month? Honestly, I do not know. She said she would visit for a month, although she was clearly upset that she had to limit it. For now, I'm going to assume everyone will keep their word. It is Ramadan, Eid is coming soon, and it will be our first Eid with our son. I do not want to spend this time obsessing over what might happen if she decides not to leave. My parents will of course, host my mother-in-law for dinner while she is here. After hearing everything that happened, my mom thinks she should come by our house regularly too. I am conflicted though. I worry that seeing my mother come around so easily might make my mother-in-law feel even more justified in thinking she has been treated unfairly. My mother left the decision up to me. She told me she would be 5 minutes away whenever I needed her. I have also been thinking about putting cameras in the areas where our son spends time. I hate that I even feel the need to consider something like that, because it feels so paranoid and uncomfortable, but my mother-in-law's passive-aggressive comments and her need to control things have made me uneasy. Her remark about me being untrue to my heritage is still ringing in my ears. I do not want to believe she would deliberately create problems between my husband and me, or claim I had said or done something when he was not around. But I think having some kind of record would make me feel safer. I may do it, even if it feels icky. I spent a lot of time thinking overnight about my boundaries and what the consequences need to be. First, I'm going to make it clear to my husband that this is not going to be a month or so, it will be 1 month. Exactly. My parents' home is 5 minutes away and I need my mother-in-law to be out by 11:59 p.m. on day 31. If she is not, then my son and I will be at my parents' house by 12:05. She keeps saying she wants to help with my son, but I'm not going to allow that to take away from my bonding time with him. He is my baby too. If I feel uncomfortable, crowded or suffocated at any point during her visit, I will take my son and go to my parents' house until I feel ready to come back, and the rules around affection will not be the same as they were when we visited Pakistan. There, it would have been considered scandalous for my husband and me to kiss or cuddle while watching television if my in-laws were present. But I'm not going to let those rules be imposed on us inside our own home. Maybe those boundaries sound petty, but after what she said yesterday, I have soured on her quite a bit. Longer than a month, so she has had to cut her plans short, and she did not take that well. I had finally made peace with her staying for 1 month, and I was fully prepared to be cordial throughout the visit. Yesterday we celebrated Eid at my parents' house. It was our first Eid with our son, and everyone was so happy and emotional. We dressed him in the cutest little traditional Kurdish shalwar, and my husband and I took so many pictures because he looked absolutely adorable. Since my mother-in-law always asks us to send photos, I sent her a few from the day. Her response was not at all what I expected. Instead of simply enjoying the pictures, she started lamenting how far away we are from her. She said this was the problem with marrying someone who was not from Pakistan, that the parents are the ones who suffer. Then she said it was unfair that my parents get to have her son and grandson all to themselves. My heart honestly shrank when I read that. I knew she missed us, and I can understand that distance must be painful for her. But hearing her frame it as a problem caused by our marriage was incredibly hurtful. It felt as though she was saying she regretted my husband marrying me. I did not respond. I just left her message on read and showed it to my husband. He sincerely apologized for what she said and thanked me for not replying in the moment because he knew I was upset. But now I'm supposed to host her for an entire month. How am I meant to do that after reading something like this? I have made it absolutely clear to my husband that if she stays longer than 1 month, then our son and I will go stay with my parents until she leaves. I do not want it to come to that, but I need to protect my peace and my son's routine. I am worried she could try to extend her visit once she is here, and I need him to understand that I mean it when I say no. Normally, I would ask my mom for advice about this kind of thing, because she is more familiar with Pakistani family dynamics than I am, but I honestly think she would lose it at my mother-in-law if I told her what was said, especially when she comes to visit. So I have kept it to myself for now. I'm trying hard to compartmentalize it because we are still celebrating Eid today with friends, and I do not want her message to ruin such a happy time for us. Still, it is sitting heavily in my chest, and this is not coming out of nowhere. Things have been rough with her ever since we told her she would need to limit her stay to 1 month. She lashed out when we first told her. I brushed off a lot of it at the time because I did not want to make things worse, but I have not forgotten what she said to me. She told me that when I was getting married she had assumed I was in touch with my Muslim and Pakistani roots. Then she said she had been wrong, that it was disappointing how much I had lost my values and how whitewashed I was. I will not be forgetting that. Update 3 today. My husband told me that his mother's visa application was rejected. They're applying for the notes explaining the decision, but according to him it's probably pointless. He said it was always a 50-50 chance, and that the most common reason for rejection is not having enough ties to the applicant's home country. Immigration officials worry the person will not return home. He thought having my father-in-law stay in Pakistan would prove she had a reason to go back, but apparently that wasn't enough. I'm not going to lie, it feels like a massive weight has been lifted off my chest. I'm trying to act disappointed, but I had been dreading her visit more and more as it got closer. He told me she was inconsolable when he spoke to her earlier. She asked him to look into us moving to Pakistan. I love Pakistan, but that is never going to happen. When he shut that idea down, she gave him his uncle's number. His uncle lives in the United Arab Emirates and apparently might have job leads for us, so we could move there instead. Her reasoning was that we would only be a 2-hour flight away from them and could raise our family in an Islamic environment. Again, I'm sure the United Arab Emirates is a great place, but absolutely not. He told her it would be difficult, but agreed to speak to his uncle. I was honestly a little angry about that. I told him there is no way we are moving to the United Arab Emirates. He said of course we are not. We have built a life here, he has a great career here, and we are not uprooting everything, but he did not want to completely shut down his mother while she was so upset. Personally, I disagree with that. I think she deserves the truth. Still, whatever. I know he is trying to handle her emotions without making things worse. It's too late in Pakistan to call her now, but I'm going to talk to her tomorrow and commiserate. Even though I had stopped looking forward to hosting her, I had fully committed myself to doing it. I was prepared to be gracious and make the visit work for my husband's sake. Unfortunately, this probably means most of our family vacations will have to be in Pakistan now, since they cannot come here. We already have to go in December because they are planning to have his brother's wedding then. I think the new plan will probably be a couple of weeks in Pakistan once a year, so she can spend time with her grandson, maybe even around a smaller Islamic holiday so she can experience it with him in person. A couple of weeks in Pakistan can be nice, but I'm worried my husband will start wanting every single vacation to be there. I want us to have trips that are just for our little family too, somewhere else without every holiday becoming a visit. Maybe in the future we can meet his parents in another country they are able to travel to, rather than making every trip ours to Pakistan. That is something we can figure out later though. Right now, I'm just relieved this immediate problem is over. It still sucks that there is all this bad blood between us for no real reason. I'm sure she hates me now. I have tried very hard to forget what she said about my upbringing and my heritage, but I can't. I see her in a completely different light now. I'm going to comfort my husband because I know this is painful for him, but maybe it was for the best. Better she hates me from Pakistan than from a room in my own home. There is one more thing I need to sort out before we travel there again. My son and I only have Canadian citizenship, while my husband has dual citizenship. I had assumed my son was only Canadian because we never applied for his national identity card for overseas Pakistanis when he was born. The last time we visited, my son and I got Pakistani visas on our Canadian passports, while my husband did not need one, but I learned that children born overseas can apparently automatically be Pakistani citizens by descent if either parent is a citizen. I had no idea. It is honestly so frustrating, because I thought not applying for his documents meant he had never become a Pakistani citizen in the first place. Now I need to talk to my husband and look into it properly. If my son is automatically considered Pakistani, I want to know whether there is a way to cancel that status or make sure there is no ambiguity about which government is responsible for him. I also need to find out whether it changes anything when we visit. We have about 8 months to deal with it, so we do not have to panic, but I am not taking any risks when it comes to my son. I will keep his documents with me at all times, and have the Canadian consulate's number saved before we go. Update 4, our phone call went well for maybe the first 2 minutes. I told her how sorry I was that she would not be able to come, and that the visa officers should have been more considerate. But it went downhill almost immediately after that. She said this probably meant she would never be able to visit Canada, and that only seeing us for a few weeks each year would never be enough. She said my parents had already been able to grow close to us for 2 years, and now it should be her turn. Then she asked whether my husband had called his uncle about finding him a job in the United Arab Emirates, because he had not been answering her texts. I told her I did not know if he had called, but that it would not work anyway. We live in Canada. We have started our family here, we have a support system here, and my husband has a great career here. I said we would absolutely take as many vacations together as we could so she could spend time with my son, but moving was not something that was going to happen. That was when she started talking about how my sister-in-law, her daughter, has lived with her in-laws ever since getting married. She complained about how awful my sister-in-law's mother-in-law is, then turned around and told me how lucky I was to have such loving in-laws who only wanted to be close to us. According to her, I should have been more grateful. The hypocrisy hit me the second she said it. She was complaining about someone else being a difficult mother-in-law while refusing to see what she herself has become. But this was supposed to be a call where I comforted her about the visa, so I held my tongue. I told her that I was grateful for my son, my husband, and everything we have. Then I said I needed to go and ended the call before I said something I could not take back while she was still so upset about the visa decision. Right after that, I texted my husband before she could get to him first. He probably will not be happy, because he wanted us to let her hold on to the United Arab Emirates idea for comfort. But I honestly do not care anymore. She needs to understand that we are never moving. From now on I'm only going to call her for important occasions, like Eid. I will send pictures of my son if my husband asks me to, but that is it. I need the distance. And, sincerely, I am thankful to the visa officer who made the decision. There was also something else that came up which I had not expected. I learned that my son might automatically be considered a Pakistani citizen, so I called the Pakistani consulate to clarify. When I explained the situation, the woman there told me that my son is technically a Pakistani citizen. Then it suddenly occurred to me that the circumstances around my own birth had probably been similar to his. I asked about myself too, and she told me that I'm also considered a Pakistani citizen. All 3 of us have Canadian passports, although my husband also has a Pakistani passport. Still, finding out that my son and I may have Pakistani citizenship made me uneasy. We are supposed to attend my brother-in-law's wedding in Pakistan in December, and I'm gonna look into how this could affect our visit before we go. For now though, December is still 8 months away, and I refuse to spend every day stressing about it. My parents were glad for my sake that the visa situation worked out the way it did. My mom honestly did not think I would have been able to handle everything if my mother-in-law had come here. I trust my husband when he says we will never move away from Canada. I do not believe he is suddenly going to become a different person just because we visit Pakistan. But I'm still going to begin the process of revoking the Pakistani citizenship my son and I apparently have. I do not see any benefit to keeping it, especially if it could tie us to Pakistani laws in ways I do not understand or want. Update 5. My husband, our son, and I are due to go to Pakistan in a couple of weeks. I know that alone might make me the I just waited for no reason hoping I'd stop feeling this way. For his brother's wedding, his mother does not like me. Like she's literally told me that my husband shouldn't have married someone from Canada. My parents are Pakistani. I was born here, he came here when he was a student like a decade ago. My mill had been planning a long 2-year trip here until I had said that it can be a month at max, which caused bad blood. Her visa got rejected anyway, which meant she couldn't come at all. She laments every time we talk, which I now avoid, about how far her son and grandson are from her, and had even been pushing him into getting a job in the Middle East if not Pakistan, which we both obviously shut down as an option. So we're supposed to be going there for 2.5 weeks, for the wedding and then a few days after too. As the days are counting down, I'm not feeling good about taking our son with us there, and want to leave him with my parents. They live 5 minutes away from us. I know this seems like I don't trust my husband. I absolutely do, but I guess I don't trust the circumstances in Pakistan, especially not when it comes to my son. I know they're all keenly waiting to see him and they'll be disappointed. As things stand, I will probably decide to tell my husband today that I'm not okay with taking him with us, even if the verdict is that I'm an but I just wanted to know if the abruptness and the implication that I don't trust what could happen there would make me somewhat of an why even go? Just let your husband go and spend time with his family. She's already openly told you her feelings. There's no reason to pretend anymore. Just enjoy your time with your kid and family. She can still visit if she wants, she just can't do the months-long visits. It'll put my husband in a really bad spot if I'm not there. People will be asking him. I'm going for his sake. I'm not worried about myself there. I can't imagine them wanting me to stay longer, and we're going to have to cut our trip shorter anyway, at least I'll have to. If my son is here, I can't be there for 2.5 weeks. The days after the wedding will have to be cut short. The only way you are the is putting it off so long to say no. Otherwise, 100%. I really don't know why you're going, but certainly no way you should take the baby. I know I messed up there. It was originally supposed to be in December but got moved forward. But even then, I had time. I just wasn't feeling uncomfortable about it until it got closer. Hi OP, I've been following your story since your first few posts. Please update us on if you're safe, okay? We don't need any more details if you're not okay with sharing those right now. But please let us know if you and your baby are safe or if you need help. Hi, thank you so much for asking, that's really touching. Yes, we're okay, just 4 days left here. Phew, thank you for letting us know. I hope things have gone as smoothly as possible for you guys. Please still take precautions with your travel documents just in case. Rooting for you guys. I guess it's been smooth in the sense that my worries about some crazy maneuver to strand us here were unfounded. She's fully aware that we're gone after 4 days and how sad that is. My husband even took just us for a couple of days to the northern part of the country, so that was fun. One thing is clear though, she fucking hates me lol. If she'd moved in with us in Canada, it would have been the end of our marriage. Can't be more grateful that her visa got rejected. Thank you Mr. Carney. Update 6. We're back in Canada now, and I'm honestly relieved to be home. I know a lot of people would have advised me not to go, or at least not to take my son, but in the end, both of us went with my husband. Before we left, I had been completely honest with him about how afraid I was and how much the whole situation had been messing with my head. He gave me his word that he was fully committed to the life we have in Canada, that we would be coming back, and that he would never put our son or me in that kind of danger. He told me his mother could be difficult, but that she would never actually try to stop us from returning home. I chose to trust him. The days leading up to the wedding went surprisingly well, maybe because everyone was too busy with the wedding events to create much drama. My son and I thankfully didn't get sick, although my husband fell ill almost immediately after we landed. During that first half of the trip, my mother-in-law was actually kind to me. She made sure I was included in everything, introduced me to relatives and family friends, and kept me at the center of the events. For a while, it felt like things might be okay. After the wedding, my husband took the 3 of us to Bourbon, the northern mountainous part of the country, for a couple of days. His mother objected to it, saying those days were meant to be spent with the family. She even insisted that we leave our son behind, which I was completely against. There was no chance I was leaving him anywhere without us. Still, we went, and those few days were genuinely nice. It was peaceful to be together as our own little family, away from everyone else. But when we returned, my mother-in-law became exactly the person I had been dreading. She began making comments about how my husband had made a mistake by marrying someone from Canada. At one point, when she and my husband had gone grocery shopping together, she lectured him about how he was supposed to go to Canada to study and build a professional career, not to find a girl. She told him she had raised him better than to prioritize looks in a partner. As infuriating as that was, it was also in a strange way, low-key flattering, but I had to pull that information out of him, so I can only imagine there were worse things said that he didn't repeat to me. One night we hosted some of their family friends. After they left, she started going on about how compatible their daughter would have been with my husband, and how willing their family had supposedly been. I had mostly kept the peace for my husband's sake, but that was the moment I snapped. I told her that she should not have sent her son to Canada, then, she should have kept him in Pakistan and had him marry a nice Pakistani girl. Later, I told my husband that if she continued speaking to me like that, the three of us would be moving into a hotel for the rest of the trip. I think he must have spoken to her, because after that, the disrespect became less direct. It was still there though, it just came out in quieter, more careful ways. That was basically how the second half of the visit went. I either stayed in our room with my son, or went wherever my husband took us. I kept my distance as much as I could. At least our son was completely adored by everyone there. He was happy, spoiled, and surrounded by people who loved him, and I'm grateful for that. The night before our flight home, his parents brought up us moving to Pakistan or the United Arab Emirates again. My husband told them he had recently been promoted, that he had a career in Canada, that we had bought a house, and that we had built a life there. His mother got tearful again and talked about how little she gets to see us compared to my parents, who can visit whenever they want. But this cannot be something we do every year. His brother was getting married, so this trip was important and we had to make it work. But I do not want all of our family vacations to feel like this. We need to have vacations that are just the three of us too, in places that are not Pakistan. I'm going to make that clear to my husband. And, honestly, this trip made me realize even more clearly that his mother staying in our home long term would have destroyed our marriage. I could not be more thankful that her visa was rejected. From everything I heard while we were there, it sounds like they have mostly given up hope of visiting Canada now, because getting a Canadian visa approved after a rejection seems very difficult. But if it ever comes up again, especially if they expect to stay for a long time, I will be making it absolutely clear that they need to arrange their own accommodations.